Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Dynasty Podcast with Borg, Betz, and a Baller.
Welcome back. It's week 2. We're back on the Fantasy Footballers Dynasty Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Berganoni, and I am joined by Matthew Betz and Jason Moore.
We're back. You know, it wouldn't be the NFL season if offenses look terrible, everybody's hurt. I mean, we're back. This is what we came for, boys. This is why we play the game.
Yay! Yay, football!
I know Jason's so excited about being back to fantasy football, losing Puka to IR, Devon Achane's banged up. I mean, here we are.
Yeah, it's like, the guys I love, they're hurt, but they're still gonna do great things this year.
Maybe.
Why is it that we even play a stupid game anymore? Why do we play a stupid game where everything that we've talked about and then it just goes in the pooper when NFL offenses say, you know what, we're not quite ready yet. And there's some low scores.
The thing is, and this is genuine, and this is in every aspect of life, is that you can't really have good without bad. You don't know joy without sadness. If sadness doesn't exist, then joy doesn't exist. You know, it just is. And so we actually really enjoy getting upset at fantasy football. I love having Puka be something I can whine and complain about, and that's just the truth.
I respect it.
Do we have too high of hopes for fantasy football in our lives, people? Like, do we just need to bring it down a notch and understand that there are things, and we'll talk about it on the show, there are things, man, they confirmed everything I thought. I feel smart. I feel great. And in the moment, I feel a little outweighed by some of the things that just hurt deeper. I mean, the pains hurt. If you have Marv, it hurts. If you have some of these other guys that, Chris Olave, it hurts when the team puts up 47 points and he has 2 catches. Like, these things are painful in Dynasty because I think Dynasty is the one format where you are just hoping and pleading that somebody with potential actually comes through. So I don't know. I'm just, on this podcast, we don't want to come in pessimistic, but I do feel my hopes dashed already a week in.
You're in a great place, Kyle. And for those that weren't aware, I think it was on the DFS and betting show, Kyle shared with me, I had just gotten back from paternity leave, and he's like, dude, I'm exhausted, man. He's like, I'm grinding. We're just trying to get to week 1. I was like, brother, we got 18 plus more weeks of this. Like, if you're limping through right now, you're in a really bad spot. And so it sounds like week 1 just really did not help you, Kyle. It probably didn't help that you had to watch your Falcons be one of the worst offenses in football this past weekend. So maybe that didn't work. It didn't help.
You know what? Let me hop in on that. Because, I watched every snap, and I just want to ask the question without leading the witness here. Kyle, you are a Falcons fan. I'm sure you watched it very, very closely. Was it Kirk Cousins or was it the Steelers?
It was, TJ Watt, I think, was the best player in the NFL in week 1.
That was maybe one of the best defensive performances I've ever seen. And then a replay today I just watched, the one where he, did the triple crown, the strip sack fumble that got called back on a penalty.
Right.
That you watch it in super slow-mo today, and it's like, oh my gosh, he totally 100%. I mean, you watch it live, and you're like, he's behind the backfield before anyone else moves. Except you watch the replay, and the ball starts moving. He's just that much quicker than everyone. He was not offsides. It blew my mind. But anyways, was Kirk bad? Was Kirk Cousins bad?
Kirk was bad because Kirk was playing on one foot, and Kirk basically said, I'm not moving. I promise you that I'm playing flag football, an old man flag football game where I'm basically going to get it out. I'm not going to do anything else with it.
Well, so going forward, are you really concerned about that? Obviously, without TJ Watt, it's a little bit easier to stand in a pocket. But if he's standing there not planting hard on that throwing leg, are you concerned from what you saw?
Can I tell you the next couple games? Because that's the
yeah.
It doesn't get any better. It's
really?
the Eagles on Monday night. So congrats, Betz, on a win. It's Kansas City.
Oh man!
And then after that, it's New Orleans, who is kind of
those
always
are
had.
D lines. So when you said it can't get any better, I thought you meant that as in like it's as good as it can get. I was like, oh, that's a breath of fresh air. You mean the opposite.
So here's my question. I know the Falcons are going to Falcon, but week 5, they play the Buccaneers. I'm going to that game. It's on a Thursday night. And I'm kind of asking the question at that point, how much has the Penix pressure built up at that point? Yeah.
You don't want too much Penix pressure.
No, that can
really
bad.
That can be very dangerous.
From the people, they're going to be just clamoring for that. So I looked at that. I was like, oh gosh, that's 0-4 going into that Thursday night game. So
fun time.
I bet medically speaking, in terms of Achilles, where is he at? Like, he's a lot further behind where Rodgers was. We knew that, but I mean, was that way worse than we thought?
Yes and no. I mean, when you look at like the recovery timeline for him versus Rodgers, he's a few months behind, obviously. And a lot of people had asked me going into the season, like, should we be concerned about the Falcons offense, specifically Kirk Cousins? And I said, largely no, except for you might see issues with his deep ball, meaning when he drops back and has to hit that right leg and then, pop forward and deliver the ball downfield, which it's his right Achilles. I was like, that's where I see most of the issue. I honestly thought his pocket movement, which literally was non-existent, was worse than I thought it was going to be. So I'm not like panicked, but I'm definitely not as excited about this offense as I was 2 weeks ago. And I think you're right. If they do start 1-3, 1-4, something like that, like the fans are going to want Michael Penix out there. So I have no idea what this Falcons offense is going to be, but we'll talk about more of them today. The usage as far as their skill guys was awesome.
Yeah, we'll talk about some of those today. We're also going to get into a little bit of a film dive. So during the season on the Dynasty podcast, we're going to try to give you our takes from watching the games, watching the snaps, all the routes, just to give you a deeper dive. And then each week we'll kind of pick a different topic to talk about, including some of the quarterbacks. I feel like this episode is going to be very quarterback heavy. And maybe that's kind of the biggest takeaway for me for week 1. Would you guys say, like, man, it's like there's not enough to go around?
Yeah, I mean, that is going to be one of the giant points that I talk about here in a bit when we're having our big takeaways. The quarterback play turns out it matters. Turns out it matters in football and in fantasy. So yeah, we'll dive deep into that.
All right, let's go for it.
Weekly Rewind.
So we're going to rewind the tape each week to start this Dynasty podcast and kind of do a deep dive on a player. Jason, you got to spend a good amount of time with your friend, Bryce Young, a.k.a. the Sandman.
Oh, yeah, you got to have that foundation laid in sand.
That's exactly, yeah. Definitely want to build your house on the sand. So, Bryce Young, you did a little deep dive. You went through every single drop back. You posted a condensed version of what he did on Twitter. So what was your biggest takeaways from Bryce Young other than him being bad at football?
So we know that Bryce Young is bad at football all of a sudden, right? He goes from being, a great collegiate player to outclassed. And they did get him some weapons this year. I mean, he's got legit weapons. You can't complain about that anymore. Adam Thielen shouldn't be your one, but Adam Thielen is still a weapon in his own right. When he's the third, you bring in a Deontay Johnson, you draft a first-round Xavier Legette, he's got it. Now, he doesn't have an offensive line. Watching the tape was like, okay, that this kind of stinks. He's under pressure a lot and quickly, but there's lots of players that are under pressure a lot and quickly. Some know how to handle it and some can't. But it wasn't just pressure. There were clean plays where he would just miss his receiver by so far that, like, towards the end of the game, if you watch, I posted a minute and a half clip, and they're tight clips. I mean, right at the beginning of the play, right at the end of the play. I mean, this is a minute 30. I should have counted how many. There's got to be 15 plays in here. of just egregious fault. Like at the end of the game, you started watching the body language of the wide receivers who's like, why am I running a route? Why am I sprinting to watch the, like, I don't even want the target because the target just makes me go, it's not uncatchable. It's not in the realm of catchable. Like, an uncatchable ball is like, oh, man, he sailed that, I jumped for it, and it was just out of my reach. This is like, no one's jumping for these balls. No one is diving for any of these. These are just like, the defenders aren't diving for them. Like, it's beyond, he's throwing it where no one can catch it. And so one of my takeaways, as far as a deep dive from film, is just, I think he's done. I don't, it's always hard to declare something so early. And I did this at the end of last year. I just said Bryce Young is not going to work. And sometimes we do that too early. We'll watch a game from Jordan Love and then he's great. But he had an off season. He had, he's coming into the second year. He was given weapons. And when you're not able to throw a ball to the spot that you are aiming for over and over and over, you can't be a quarterback in the NFL. That's it. So I don't see how they can fix that. I don't think if they get him an offensive line, if he can't throw the ball to the wide receivers, I mean, there were plays that worked. What did he have? Like 100 and
there's some Thielen plays that actually
90
worked.
yards. Yeah, I mean, every now and it's basically like 50-50. It's like he looks good and then he looks really, really bad. But the really, really bad just says you can't run an offense. It's too frequent, and I don't know how they fix it. So I'm out.
I think that one of the takeaways for me is more of just zooming out and going over the offseason when we have narratives that are coaching based. Okay, well, this coach fixed this player. This coach fixed that player. Therefore, they will fix this player. It's like, no, in the range of outcomes, it worked in Seattle. It worked in Tampa Bay. But it doesn't just mean automatically it will work in Carolina, especially when you consider the weapons they had. I mean, it's like in the running game, that's what Dave Canales wants to do. It was just zeroed out from the get-go. We're not going to be able to run the ball. Didn't work. And then, there was some cool, like I will say Leggett had some interesting usage. He led the team in targets per out run in the first week. So I'll leave the light on there. Like, okay, there's some stuff that can happen. But the game was over, by like not even the second quarter? Like it was just done. Like you turn that game off, you move on. So yeah, Bryce Young is I hate dunking on him because I want to root for him, but everything says like you need to move on.
And I think Betz, too, just real quick on
more
that,
exciting player.
Sometimes people think that we're a little too harsh on some of those takes where it's like, I think it's probably over. But the thing about the quarterback position in the NFL is that these teams move fast. Like you have a year, maybe year and a half, max 2 years, and if you can't do it, they move on, right? And the Panthers are destined for a top 5 pick. Dave Canales is probably going to want to get his guy to be his quarterback if they continue to lose. Like, so yeah, I mean, it's tough.
And from a fantasy football perspective, sometimes, especially this is the Dynasty show, like the better Dynasty players just make their decisions quicker. They find out their answers a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks before the masses catch up and everyone goes, oh yeah, I know it. And sometimes we're wrong. We see something and we go, I'm out. Or we see something and we go, I'm telling you it's going to be great. And sometimes it doesn't work out. But oftentimes when you can make the clear decision and just be definitive with it and say like, I am willing to take this belief into action. So this would apply to all of the receivers as well. If you believe Bryce is bad. Now, dynasty perspective, what Betz is saying is true. They might have another quarterback next year. That's a little bit more rare for the 101 to be moved on that quickly, but we've seen plenty of teams spend high draft capital, Sam Darnold or Josh Rosen or whatever, and when they get that chance for a high draft pick, they do move on.
Yeah. Let's talk about another player that was drafted last year, Anthony Richardson. I thought it would be a good follow-up because he was one of the guys I brought up on our episode with Mike last week, where we were talking about for fantasy for him, like it's very, very, very likely to work. Even though in 2023 it was a very small sample size, as long as he runs and throws deep, for him it is going to work. And in week 1, oh my goodness, it worked. Now, 9 of 19 as a passer, 212, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. As a passer, I mean, the deep ball to Alec Pierce, unreal.
Oh my gosh.
Unreal. Like, he's
one of the best
only
throws
guy
of
that
all
can
time.
make that throw maybe in the league. Just traveled 70 some yards in the air. Which by the way was under pressure with a blitz. Was just beautiful. But there's so many other things too that I just would love to see continue to develop. Like the A.D. Mitchell touchdown just sailed him, completely missed. A couple throws just out of bounds. There's a simple out route, just not even catchable. So I think my takeaway from week 1 is we kind of saw what we thought we would see, but I'd love to see that continue to grow for his pass catchers. Like for the ceiling outcome for Michael Pittman, for the ceiling outcome for A.D. Mitchell, Richardson's going to need to continue to develop as a passer. Now, him as a producer for fantasy, it's happening. He's going to run, he's going to throw deep, and that's what's going to work. It's just a matter of him developing as a passer. Negative 4.3% completion rate over expected was one of the worst this week per next gen stats. So room to grow, obviously a lot to like, but definitely some issues as well.
That 4th down rushing touchdown he had was like Josh Allen stuff. Like, I'm going to get in, I'm bigger than you. And that was the kind of moment when I was watching the game. Like, the throw is unbelievable, but just like, okay, for fantasy, if this dude wants it, he's going to get in the end zone. He's just bigger than everybody else. And I think all 3 of us have just been just like, Shane Steichen, I trust you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just whatever you want to do, dude.
Yeah, those missed plays with Adonai Mitchell, they're going to be missed plays all the time, but it's not. But they were big opportunities, and some of those will hit, some of them will miss. But that's Steichen just getting his guy schemed up nicely.
Yeah, this week it's at Lambeau, I believe, is who they play, the Packers.
Yeah.
So should be an interesting one. We'll see who completes 50% of their passes, Richardson or Malik Willis.
Oh, man.
Maybe neither.
I'm guessing Willis is going to be designed like they're going to make this offense very neutered. It's going to be screen, handoff for Willis.
Couple jet sweeps for Jaden Reed. Lots of Josh Jacobs. Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to go in the game plan. Hey, boys, we're going to neuter this thing. Okay, so just make sure you guys don't think about anything cool. It's a lot of Josh Jacobs. I want to throw out another Russian quarterback. Let's talk about Jaden Daniels, because for fantasy, everything we saw in college of like scrambling, it's like, we got it. We got exactly what we thought. Everything we saw in terms of not getting down and getting crushed, that happened too. So I wrote down this. I said, fantasy's broken and he can keep breaking it, but eventually he will break. Like that's what we're dealing with here with this player. So he missed on a couple deep shots. There was one with McLaurin where it was like, okay, maybe that could have worked, but Kingsbury was kind of exactly what we thought he would be. And my only question for this offense of hitting like real ceiling outcomes apart from him running for 80 and 2 touchdowns is, who are the playmakers? Like, who on this offense is going to get open in zone consistently? And I feel like they just don't have that guy. Maybe it's McCaffrey. They tried one like little throwback play to him, which I thought was kind of cool, former college quarterback. But I don't know, like everything I want is there for Daniels. You can start him every single week in a single quarterback league, but I just worry that is this offense going to sustain drives? Because they didn't do that. It was him kind of just taking off. By the way, when he took off, he never looked upfield. He just he didn't look to throw. When he started scrambling, he threw it, or he ran every single time.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, for fantasy, we don't care. But for the offense, are you guys worried they're like, I don't know, 2 playmakers short? Like, it's a thin roster.
I'm certainly worried about the receiving counting stats for any commander now, including McLaurin. If he's not going to be able to fill a stat sheet, and this was this was not that the Bucs are a bad defense, but this is not, I don't believe, one of those defenses that's like just locked down, super awesome, and Daniels can't succeed. Obviously, first week he'll get a little bit better, but yeah, I worry about the weapons. And really, when we get into this next segment and segue into everything I'm talking about, my concern is for the weapons of all these quarterbacks.
Yeah, just for context on Daniels, like when we did his evaluation as a rookie, we obviously talked a lot about the scrambling, but he was awesome as a downfield passer in college. Obviously, Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. will help you do that. But in week one, and it's only one game, but in week one, he had 5.2 air yards per attempt. That was the fourth lowest of all the starters in week one. So Cliff Kingsbury's, this is his offense, right? It's the horizontal rate. It's get the ball out quick, screens, manufactured stuff. I mean, when Zach Ertz is one of your primary pass catchers, like, we should definitely not be expecting a huge passing season, in my opinion, from Daniels. But kind of like Richardson, if he runs enough, it won't really matter for him. I'm with you guys. I'm very worried about the pass catchers in Washington.
My neighbor is a Commanders fan, and I saw him earlier today at the bus stop. We were picking up the kids, and he goes, I bet you're going to get on your podcast, and you're going to say something like, I watched every Jaden Daniels drop back, and here's the fantasy takeaways. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do. And it's the dude runs. Like, that is like exactly what we thought he was going to do. So let's take a quick break, and then we'll be back with some deeper dives. As Jason mentioned, we are going to talk a lot about quarterbacks today. Really, there's a lot of takeaways, so let's get into it.
Dynasty Download.
All right, Jason's going to kick it off for us because bad quarterback play was kind of a league-wide trend, and there's a couple of guys. We talked about Bryce. It was bad, but who are some other names that you want to bring up?
Yeah,
for
there's
Dynasty?
a lot. There's a lot of them. You got the rookies. You got Will Levis, Daniel Jones, Deshaun Watson. So just looking at them in kind of sections here. The rookie quarterbacks, there are a lot of them. We don't even have Drake May yet playing. But Caleb Williams, 93 passing yards against the Titans. Not good. That's the lowest of any first-round quarterback in their Week 1 debut since the year 2000. He's known for scrambling around, making amazing plays with his legs. But when he actually held onto the ball longer than 2.5 seconds, he went 3 for 13. That is not even 25% completion. We talk about a 50% completion being bad for 34 total yards, and he failed to complete any of his 5 pass attempts over 15 yards in his debut. It will get better for him. It will get better for Jaden Daniels, but they are rookies. And Bo Nix. Bo Nix was, Bo Nix was fine with the short stuff. Looked really good with the short stuff, just like in college. But on throws over 10 air yards, he only had 12 of them, and he completed 4 of those 12, which is not good. But it's even worse when you consider that 2 of those 4 were completed to the other team. So they were interceptions. So this is like when you look at the weapons of these rookies, and this is something I think, we've succeeded. I mean, way too early to victory lap. And Caleb Williams could end up this season having, leading the Chicago Bears in all-time passing yardage. That's still in the realm of possibility, but at least from week 1, we talk about, like, when you're drafting wide receivers from rookie quarterbacks, it is a terrible bet. You don't do it. Every now and then it works, but if you're just looking odds-wise, how often it works versus how often it doesn't work, that's an easy bet. You bet against the weapons of rookie quarterbacks, so that's one group. Another group of bad quarterback play would be kind of the in-betweens, like Kirk Cousins. We talked about him. He was a little bit bad. But then there is a trifecta of terrible. The terrible trio. The ones that I just think they are not
should not
NFL
have their jobs.
Quarterbacks. They should not have jobs. We talked about Bryce Young. That's one of them. Daniel Jones is the second. Woofta. What was the stat since he got his I believe since
contract.
He got his big contract, he has thrown more pick sixes than passing touchdowns. That is unbelievable. And then Deshaun Watson. Bryce Young is, getting a lot of pub from me on these completely uncatchable balls. You saw that all the time from Watson too. And it's funny because both of these quarterbacks, Young and Watson, they can they can put it right where they're wanting to. Right, I mean, just make outstanding looking throws. And then the next play, airmail or underthrow by so many yards, it's like you can't believe he did the other play. And it's inconsistency that does not work in the NFL. So I'm worried for all the weapons. You know, people took shots on some of the Panthers in hopes that there would be a year 2 breakout. Malik Neighbors, obviously everyone's excited about him for fantasy. Amari Cooper was really great last year in the 5 games he had Deshaun Watson. But from week 1, I you know, there's you're holding your breath, like you're taking a big breath and you're hoping you get to exhale soon. I think you might not get to exhale with these guys.
Do you think, I know you mentioned this briefly, but Watson, when he was in Houston, there's talk of him getting to use his college offense.
Mm-hmm.
And they got to run it that way, and he's kind of creating out of nothing with Hopkins. And then this Stefanski offense has been different. Do you give any credence to that, Jason? Because we talked a little bit about that.
No, I don't. I think he can run different offenses. I mean, I give credence to that could be true. Like, you know, he ran the Clemson offense, and so that was easier. But this is now year 2 in the system, even though he was injured a lot of last year. This is year 2. He should be able to run any coordinator. It might be a bad system, but they should be able to run whatever system when they learn. And obviously Joe Flacco could, you know, Joe Flacco, I think it was like 4 of his 5 starts was over 300 yards. I think Deshaun Watson has 1 game over 300 yards like since Houston. It's really, really bad. And also the system and knowing whether or not like it's Clemson or it's not Clemson, whether it's easy or difficult, that is not why you miss guys. That's not why I see where I want to throw it and I'm throwing it 10 yards further or 10 yards shorter. That has nothing to do with the system.
The stat, I think Betz and I brought it up earlier on one of our shows, but like Joe Flacco last year led all quarterbacks in fantasy points per dropback outside the pocket. Like the most immobile quarterback in the league led the league in stuff outside the pocket. And then Deshaun Watson's been the exact opposite. I mean, Betz, you have a list here of Deshaun Watson going back to last year, and he's right there with all the boys.
Yeah, this is EPA per play going back to the start of last season, minimum of 200 dropbacks. So it's not the biggest sample, but it's like guys that got some starts are on this list. And like, I mean, he's barely better than Kenny Pickett, Aiden O'Connell, Daniel Jones, Bryce Young, Mac Jones. Like, I don't want to, like, I hate being so like definitive, black and white, but like, I think it's over. I mean, we've done this for what? This is going to be the 3rd year in a row of us being like, well, they got the contract. Maybe he figures it out. At some point, like, you don't. And
I still think for fantasy football, Watson can provide games because he is mobile. He will run, you know, and he can airmail people and do enough on the ground and get some rushing touchdowns where it's okay. And then going forward short term, Amari Cooper might, you know, with David Njoku going down, Jerry Jeudy's banged up. Like all of a sudden, it's going to be a lot of Cooper.
And we also need to remember
I
too.
like him this week.
Oh boy, we also need to remember too. He had the offseason shoulder surgery on his right shoulder. Prior to the fracture in the shoulder, he had a rotator cuff issue last year. So I just wonder how much that plays a role in it. Now, from my timeline, like he should be back to 100%. It's been long enough, but he had some soreness late in camp, if we recall. So I'm not making excuses for the guy, but context is important. It's just been so bad.
You're giving reasons. You're giving legit reasons why he's not good at throwing the football, and he's not.
It's been 3 years. Yeah, I mean, what's wild to me though, just like for an NFL standpoint, is the contract they gave him, which obviously we all know in hindsight looks ridiculous, but then the GM got an extension, and the head coach got, I mean, Kevin Stefanski's awesome, but like the GM's decision to make that contract just looks so egregious. I don't know. It's sad if you're a Cleveland fan.
I mean, we don't know for sure, but when it's something like that Watson deal, the fully guaranteed move mountains type of maneuver, that could have been the GM, but that could have been the owner too.
True.
You know what I mean? He could have just said, you have to do this. You have to get him, do whatever it takes, give him fully guaranteed. I don't know, but whoever it was needs to stop making decisions.
I wanted to bring up for my topic, because the Browns were the worst in the league at this in the first week. So it's like there were teams that looked at last year, they did some self-scouting, they go, this didn't really work very well last year. Let's change things up. And one of those things is pre-snap motion. I talked about it last week about my fears. My fears going into the season is all of these teams, they're talking a big talk, they get a new OC, and things don't change. And guess what? Some teams just completely shifted. The Saints were the worst in the league last year at motion. They were number 1 in week 1 in terms of pre-snap motion rate, 88%.
Big coordinator change there. Cubes.
Little cubes, baby. What's crazy is if you look at the teams that were the highest in week 1 in terms of pre-snap motion rate, this is, connecting the dots here, but most of them won. And the teams that lost were the Packers, who lost at the end, and the Rams, who also lost at the end. But the Lions, the Chiefs, Cowboys, Dolphins, Vikings, Buccaneers, Texans, all those teams won. If you go on the other side, the teams that had the lowest pre-snap motion rate on pass plays in week 1, the Browns lost, Broncos lost, Panthers lost, Bengals lost, Titans lost, Colts, that was a close one, but they also lost. The Cardinals lost, and the Commanders lost. Now, we're looking at that, and we're just kind of probably going too far and saying this is what's going to happen. But I think it's a clear thing in the NFL that if you have certain players on your team, you scheme them open. Mike McDaniel would be screaming this right now in the room. And you look at the best players in fantasy, like Cooper Kupp. What did they do? Hey, Puka's down. Let's just feed this dude. And he was in motion at the snap on 30 plays. That's 6 more than any other player over the last 7 seasons. His touchdown was in motion, and Arizona's been terrible on plays against motion. The Eagles, a team that I was really high on, and after those first 2 drives, in my mentions were just, Kyle, you're an idiot. The Eagles are so bad. I thought they were the MVP. And man, they turned it around after that. Because Hurts had an early interception.
And a fumble, right?
Did you feel that, Betz, as an Eagles fan?
I mean, some of his decision-making was egregious at times in that game, but they did enough to win, I guess. But yeah, it didn't look great. I mean, they were traveling to Brazil, and, Packers are a good team and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, initially it was like, ooh, this doesn't look like what we thought it would.
But to just chime in there on them Eagles, we were paying attention to something, and we saw who had the major bump in slot utilization. Devontae, baby.
Talk to me about Jason and I were actually watching the game together over a meal, and it's like, that guy right there. He's being schemed open, and yes, A.J. Brown had the big touchdown, but Devontae Smith was repeatedly used that way. He had a solid game. If you started Devontae Smith, you're great. Hurts was awesome in motion. Without motion, he completed 39% of his passes, and both of his INTs were without motion. The Seahawks offense was just another one. It wasn't a great game, but like 78% of their plays, they used motion. That was way higher than anything else. We thought that with the new OC, and they actually did it. They even put Kenneth Walker in motion on 11 plays, which is crazy. And so my question for us is, looking at these stats, things will change. It's just 1 week sample size. But do defenses eventually adjust? And are there certain teams where their dumb OCs, do they change things? Like Alex Van Pelt, the Browns OC, came in and said, I'm going to run the same system I did in New England. We're not going to use motion. He didn't use motion, and they looked terrible against the Cowboys. Like, same thing with Canales. He didn't do it with the Buccaneers. And in the first week with the Panthers, you saw how bad it is. So do they self-scout? Do they change things up? Or are there certain OCs who are like, this is my system. I'm going to run it. I don't care. That's what we're dealing with here. So I don't know. Is there any takeaways you have from this motionless Betz?
I mean, nothing that's, earth-shattering analysis, but just like it's just proven year over year, the most efficient teams use it at the highest rate. And not shockingly, they're the teams that we like, that win games, that have players that produce ceiling outcomes for fantasy. The teams that struggle with it are the teams that are just inefficient and therefore can't sustain drives, don't get in scoring opportunities, and that hurts fantasy. So I don't have anything that's like, earth-shattering, but to answer your question of like, this is our system and this is what we do, I think there's a lot of that in the NFL. And it's easy for me to say as a nerd in my mom's basement sitting at my computer, but it's not that
You're
hard.
You're a homeowner, bro. Don't throw yourself under the bus.
I pay property tax. it's not that hard. I don't understand. Like the same thing with Antonio Pierce punting on 4th and 1, down a touchdown, with 7 minutes left. How is it the year
idiocy
2024 and we're still doing this? Like I don't understand. So yeah, I think there is some of that in the NFL where these guys have just done it a certain way for 10 years and that's what they're going to do.
I love looking at teams in the NFL that change course the next year. Like the Jaguars defense was really good against the Dolphins. And what they did is said, we're just going to run man. Nobody else in the NFL is doing this. We're going to run so much man that it stifles things. And other than that big Tyreek play, like they did a good job. And I think the NFL is a league that swings on a pendulum. Everybody's going towards zone. Okay, we're going to switch things up. Everybody's going towards motion. Eventually, defenses will figure it out and just go, oh, that guy's in motion. I bet he might be targeted on this play. Cooper Kupp, I think he might be the dude. So just be willing to understand it's a pendulum. Yep. Things change all the time.
Real quick before we move on from the motion thing, I don't know if you guys saw Rashid Shaheed was in motion on over 20% of his snaps. That is dangerous. Get Rashid Shaheed in motion before the snap. It's unstoppable with how fast he is. We talked a little bit about the offense earlier. I'm going to go to my second point here actually first. So out of order, but the Falcons' product on the field was gross. We talked about it a little bit already with Kirk Cousins and all that sort of stuff.
Amen.
But the skill players of who everyone was drafting highly, whether at Dynasty or redraft, everyone's excited about. I think you should still be very, very excited about. Bijan Robinson's workload, incredible compared to what we saw with Arthur Smith shenanigans last year. 90% of the snaps, 86% of the running back rush attempts, over 80% route rate, 23% target share. If he keeps that up and the offense just is close to league average or slightly above average, this is the number one scoring fantasy either player or running back, in my opinion. Drake London, it was gross. It was really not great, but ran 100% of the routes. Kyle Pitts, 100% of the routes. That stuff wasn't happening last year. So I'm not panicking on the Falcons yet. We talked about some of the concerns, but the usage for this trio, it's what we were all hoping for in the offseason, and we finally saw it. So I'm still excited about Bijan and these guys. Hopefully they can get it back on track.
Yeah, I think this is more of a vote of confidence, not just in week one. Like things could be bad with Cousins, but just the usage and the getting into the 21st century offense. That's what we care about for fantasy. So with Bijan, there's some debate if people want to breeze. I think we are all, Bijan's our RB1. He's ahead of it. Moving forward, a 23% target share is a lot. Like it's a lot to be able to sustain. But if he gets 20%, I feel like that's still like an insane amount for a running back. Anything over 16 is great for a running back. Talk to me about London though, because it was scary if you played London in week one. Scary with Olave too, and even Wilson, the guys we brought up together. It's like the first drive Wilson was great and then gone. But all three of those wide receivers, I still feel like we're like, please break out.
Still waiting. Still waiting. I will say on London, Joy Porter Jr. is a very good up-and-coming corner. London is good enough that he should still be able to win, I think, regardless of cornerback matchup, but it's something to consider from week one. I just think it's so tough when your quarterback is not able to move the way we think he should be able to, or he's under pressure you can't develop the routes and that sort of thing. So I don't want to take too much away from London in week one, but yeah, the whole talk all offseason was that trio from that draft class of London, Olave, and Garrett Wilson. High hopes, still waiting.
Yeah. Jason, do you have any needle move at all about London, or just like, hey, it's 1 week, let's move forward, we'll be fine?
The needle is moving. I have not moved it drastically, but you certainly have to be worried when you are shut down that hard. Again, this is like Steelers or Falcons. I'm not sure which one it is, but if Kirk Cousins is not able to really chuck it deep, then Drake can't work. And so I'm going to be on a 2-week watch here. This coming matchup will be, I think, ideal for figuring out how much was the defense versus how much was the offense. If they have a bad week this week, then I'm going to go ahead and probably try to make a quick decision that Kirk is not going to be healthy enough this year.
What if I told you it's primetime Kirk Cousins?
Oh, well, that's a loss.
3-10 on Monday night in his career, people. It's not looking good. No, I will also say with Pitts, we got the usage we wanted to. He wasn't just running slant. Like, I thought they'd use him more in just slants. His touchdown was, you're fortunate to be able to get it. But yeah, 100% of routes for any player is insane. But then for a tight end that you get to play there, that's essentially their slot wide receiver. Like, McLeod got some catches too. Mooney was basically irrelevant. But I think at the end of the day, you're going to be happy with Pitts. London's going to come around. I just hate that it's probably going to be 3 or 4 weeks. And after 4 weeks, like, his value in redraft is going to stink. And then in Dynasty, you're going to be like, well, I bought it in again. So I don't know. I hate thinking about players that I think can turn it around, but then their value is just going to sink at the most important part of the year. Like, the beginning of the year, you want to get off to a good start. So is London a player that you would trade for then, Betz?
I mean, I don't think anybody's like willing to just sell low after 1 week, especially in Dynasty. But I still believe in the talent. It's just that we've talked about, again, with this trio from this draft class, like, at some point, very, very, very soon, like, you have to be realistic of what the player's outlook is. Top 12? Probably not. Top 20? Probably still likely. So it's just a matter of asking price. If we have another down game, then maybe you kick the tires on a trade, but I don't think anybody's selling low after 1 week.
All right, let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back. All right, we're back. We're going to give a couple more takeaways from week 1. And Jason, you've got a rookie wide receiver here that I was encouraged. The volume wasn't great for the team, but I was encouraged by his usage.
Yeah, and that is rookie wide receiver for the Bills, Keon Coleman. That was a big takeaway for me. There was not a lot of passing volume in the offense. That is a little bit concerning, right? Because I think that's what Joe Brady wants to do. That's what he did at the end of last year, and it worked, and they won games, and he's going to continue doing that. However, there will be times, I mean, at the end of the year, Josh Allen will have thrown for 4,000 yards, right? Like, that's going to happen, even though it's not the high-flying, super pass above expectation Bills that we all wish it was. He's still going to get his. And the cool thing to see in that matchup was, of the wide receivers, it's like, is it going to be Curtis Samuel? Is it going to be Khalil Shakir? How involved will Keon Coleman be? And everyone got thrown at the wall. Matt Collins was out there. MVS was out there. However, the number one snap, this is the snap percentage. Number one was the rookie in week 1, 73% of snaps. The number one in wide receiver target market share was Keon Coleman. The number one in receptions, Coleman. The number one in yardage, Coleman. He had an end zone opportunity. And when you watch the film, he had 5 targets, right? So this is what I'm saying. It doesn't seem like a big breakout game. It wasn't. He didn't show something like he could be someone you could actually target in a draft if someone's like, he didn't do much. Because he didn't do much in the counting stats, which is what matters for fantasy. But when you look at the utilization, he is their wide receiver 1 from week 1. So I am very confident moving forward in Keon Coleman. And the way that they used him was in a bunch of different ways. He had only 5 targets. Here's his 5 targets. An underneath route as a trailing player, had 12 yards and a first down on that. They isolated him on the right. First read of the play, he fought off the cornerback on the sideline, had a 4-yard reception. The next target was him sitting down in a zone, 7-yard reception. Yes. Then you had a go ball from Josh Allen where he wins in the air for a 28-yard reception. That's like his bread and butter. And then the next play was an end zone target from the 6-yard line. Didn't come down with it, but that gives you an opportunity to trade for him, because if he came down with it, I think people would be going, Coleman first game had a breakout. He did. It's just not in the stat sheet. So he's definitely one of my big takeaways. Like all draft season, there were 2 guys I really, really liked that were about the same place in their drafts, and I believed in both of them, both in Ladd McConkey and Keon Coleman. Both looked pretty good in their utilization. But Coleman, if they hit, has a much higher ceiling.
Yes. Yeah, I think in the pre-draft evaluation, all of us go like, okay, there's something that's not adding up about this prospect. And just in terms of like him being targeted, the way that he won, those are usually things where like, contested catches, in zone. This isn't stuff that usually adds up in the NFL. Then we found out that he's going to be their ex wide receiver, and we're like, is that a valuable role? And then you see that he was used all over the field. And he's a big dude. He's a yards after the catch. Remember in his gauntlet drill, it was like,
yeah.
This dude's way faster than his 40 time. So it was enough for me to go like, okay, they believe he's the one in their offense. Week 1, it's very clear he's the one in their offense, and he's going to have some games where it's not great. My question is, does this shift anything in your mind about Dalton Kincaid's role in this offense? Because it was frustrating. If you played Kincaid, you get one target in a game where, it was a good game. It was a back and forth. They were behind at the half, and he sees one target. So, Betz, does that shift anything about Kincaid in your mind?
I mean, yes and no. Like, I think in redraft circles, if you traded for Kincaid in Dynasty or you draft him in a startup, you're drafting him with the idea of like, he is Josh Allen's number one pass catcher. That's why his ADP is where it was. And I still think that possibility exists. But like you said, in a game where they were trailing, got behind early, he still wasn't involved. Second in routes behind Coleman, but one target is obviously not ideal. Now, this is a player who, as a rookie, had the 4th most catches ever for a tight end. So I'm not overreacting to 1 week, but I think the idea of like, it's going to be his offense in the passing game and the other guys will just fight for scraps, I'm not as sold on that anymore off of Keon Coleman's usage.
Just so I want
Go ahead, Jason.
I want to go and watch the film on Kincaid specifically. I have not gone and watched the all 22 on that. I did see one clip. It was only one play, so take it for what it is, one single play. But the Arizona Cardinals defense locked in on Kincaid. He was triple covered. Like, this was, so I want to go back and watch and see if is this something similar to what,
they watched the Chiefs film.
Exactly what the Chiefs did to Mark Andrews or not. So I just made a note to go watch that.
And I will say too, in regards to the wide receiver rotation type stuff, like I think as the season goes on, Coleman earns more trust. They're in tight games. The chips are down. You have to win. Like, enough with the MBS routes, like enough with the empty routes from the other. Like, I think he's just going to command the ball because I think he is talented and Josh Allen's going to go to him as he earns the trust. So I'm really encouraged for Keon Coleman, who I was pretty down on as a prospect. So it was really encouraging for week 1.
Also, Brian Thomas. Whew,
ooh, baby.
I mean, that one, we liked as a prospect, but he looks like he's going to be their number 1 this season.
Let me give you guys a list of rookie wide receivers who led their team in targets per out run in week 1. Keon Coleman, 18.5%. Brian Thomas Jr., 20%.
Yes, sir.
Brock Bowers, 22.6%. Your boy Devon Vele of the Broncos,
nope.
26%.
Don't say that. Don't say my boy. Don't like him. Hate him.
Because he's basically like all of our uncle. He's that old.
No, it's because he is the definitive proof that Troy Franklin will never get it done. You want to say, well, Troy Franklin's getting the rookie treatment. It's like, well, what about Vele? He lost out to another rookie drafted later. I don't know. It's very upsetting. It's too soon.
Jason's sad because he has a waterbed against Andy. Troy Franklin versus Marvin Mims.
Yeah.
And after 1 week.
0-0.
Nobody has points. Oh, that's great. The other rookies, though, that also led their team, Xavier Legette, 30% targets per out run. And then, Jason, I don't know if you knew this, Ladd McConkey, 31.8% targets per out run, baby.
Yeah, baby. Oh, my little lad.
He's a fun player. He's
really, really good. I do worry. Watching the first game, I mean, it was great. He's clearly, the number 1 target. It was great that he was utilized around the end zone, and he made 2 dudes miss to get that touchdown. He looked awesome. But also, everything is going to be so short with him. It's going to be very less valuable targets, and I'm sad to see that because I believe he can be used anywhere on the field. I really do. I think if they said, hey, we want you to work, the deep middle more, he'd thrive at that. But that's not what they're asking him to do.
Does he have is his ceiling higher in his career than, let's say, Christian Kirk's?
Yes. That's really tough because Kirk has been the wide receiver 12 before.
Yeah. Kirk's a good NFL player, got a second contract. Yes. But you hear that and you go like, oh, but I want more.
I think that's right about what he is. I mean, it's like Hunter Renfrow, very good NFL wide receiver, also had a season where he was the wide receiver 12. So that's about what you're going to get. My hope is that Ladd is a better at this age prospect than either of those other two guys. And so I'm hoping he turns more into a Keenan, a Welker, one of those guys that's not just a really good NFL player, but that is a unstoppable guy for a couple of years. Because I think he can be.
I mean, okay, let's just put it this way. I'm going to put his finish this year at wide receiver. I'll put the over-under at wide receiver 26. Would you take over-under?
Well, I'm not sure which way means
That's exactly
what.
When I said that, I go, he has no idea.
So I will say he finishes at wide receiver 25.
Okay.
So
Betz?
better
I will
than
take
26.
whatever that means. Better. I will take better.
Yeah, I will also take better. I think he's going to command the target share in an offense that has really no other legit weapons. I mean, Josh Palmer's fine, but Ladd is talented and he'll earn targets as the year goes on more and more. So I would say better than 26.
We need them in game environments where it's pushing them, because we know Herbert has that in his bag for them just to go off. And it doesn't mean that Harbaugh is saying, we'll never throw the ball, we're never doing this. Like, we need games where he's just peppered with targets the way that Keenan used to. So we talked about rookies that led their teams in targets per route run. I wanted to zero in for my little deep dive on Brock Bowers, because I was a little lower for fantasy purposes going into the season. He's a Georgia boy, so I know I loved him already, but it's like, is this going to work? I don't really trust Antonio Pierce. I don't trust Luke Getsy. I don't trust Gardner Minshew / Aiden O'Connell. And in week 1, 8 targets, 25% target share. Since 2014, he joined Hawkinson and Pitts as the only other rookie tight ends to see 8 targets in their first game. So it was awesome. He had the 7th most routes of all tight ends. He had the same routes run as Kittle, and he led the entire team in yards per route run and targets in week 1. So moving forward with Bowers, is he ahead of schedule based on where you thought he was going to be integrated in the offense? And then on top of that, what is his ceiling in year 1? Because I watched the film, they worked him over the middle of the field. Now, a lot of stuff was just short, and that's how it's going to be sometimes with Minshew. But like, there's a couple intermediate routes that was like, this dude's different. If you try to cover him with a linebacker, he's not normal, and he wasn't a normal prospect. But I think that with Bowers, like, it wouldn't shock me if he ends up with 120 targets, which is just wild with Devontae Adams there. I mean, that's like a ceiling case, but like, if you knew you were getting 120 targets from Brock Bowers, he's a locked-in top 5 tight end, and he has a ceiling, and he needs touchdowns, honestly. Like, he's probably not going to get more than 6 touchdowns, but that's crazy in year 1 to be able to get that. So, Betz, any takeaways from you for Brock Bowers?
Kind of just what we thought we might see as a pro. Now, I don't think any of us thought maybe it would happen the way it did in week 1 right out of the gate, but he's just so good at the game. I mean, he just is, right? Like, literally the focal point of Georgia for years, goes into an offense with Devontae Adams, who's unreal, and has more targets than Devontae Adams. Now, maybe that's a scheme coaching issue, or maybe just Brock Bowers is him, and he's that good. But like you said, the touchdowns, I don't think are going to be there the way that they need to be. In year 1, you have pretty low career touchdown rate guys in Minshew, and maybe AOC has some starts this year. So, like, that's a concern. Plus, we know the Antonio Pierce mantra of running the football is a concern. So, all of that to say, like, I think you'll see enough from Bowers in year 1 that you're going to be absolutely so excited to have him in Dynasty. That said, for like end of season rankings or whatever, as far as where he finishes, if he's like tight end 7 or 8, it's exciting for Dynasty. Probably not moving the needle a ton to like win you a championship. So, I mean, I would be so excited to have him on my roster. But realistic expectations, I think, still need to be there.
Yeah. 24 snaps in the slot was awesome.
Yes.
As the resident on the non-Dynasty show, anti-rookie tight end, unapologetic believer, I am like ready to take my L. Week 1, I mean, there's a lot of things in Brock Bowers' way to have a rookie year breakout. It's history, historically just doesn't happen. The fact that they had a very good round 2 tight end on the roster from last season, the fact that it's a bad offense, the fact that I don't trust the coaching staff, I don't trust the quarterback, blah, 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 throw it all out, man. I watched the game. It was like, whoa, that guy is doing exactly what he should be doing, used exactly how I would hope he would be being used. And in addition to everything else, his foot injury, or there was worries about getting off to a slow start because of injury. He missed a bunch of the lead up to the kickoff. But goodness gracious, I'm in. It's one of those like where we talk about making quick decisions based on what you see, good or bad, is important. And I think if people are out there, I mean, if you're in a dynasty league, it doesn't really matter. You drafted Brock Bowers because you believed you're going to be rewarded. You're not going to be trading for Brock Bowers. But if there's redraft leagues out there where Brock is on waivers, and if Brock was on waivers, I mean, I would be going hard. I would be going, what would you have paid for Laporta last year? Now, there's a big difference here in the fact that Laporta had double-digit touchdowns with a good offense. That's not going to happen. But also, Brock Bowers is better than Laporta as a player. So some of that will be made up for.
Yeah, talent-wise, I think we'd all say Bowers has a higher ceiling. It's crazy, that part of rookie drafts, if you guys want to think back to, after the big 3 guys, it's like, okay, well, did you want Worthy at 104? Did you want Brian Thomas? Did you want Bowers? Did you want Keon Coleman? It's like,
Lad.
great. Yes, you did great.
Yes. You want them all. They're all doing very well so far after 1 week.
Yeah, they all have established roles. Like it seemed like an area where you could airball, like one of those guys, and maybe they still will, but like through week 1, it looks great. I do have a question though about Las Vegas. A year from now, what does this team even look like? Like, is Devontae on this team? I'm assuming they have a new quarterback. Like they pick early in the draft, they move on. So like that's reason for optimism for me.
I don't know how early they're going to pick. I think their defense, this might be like a Saints situation.
They're going to go like the 7-10 route, like the Falcons, and just sit there forever.
Exactly, because their defense is really, really good. And so I don't know that they're going to be in a position to grab a great quarterback next year. They're going to be one of those teams that will try in free agency to find a quarterback, which there never are. So it'll probably be a couple year stretch of being a little bit bad and wasting Max Crosby's time.
Sounds like a great way to spend millions and millions and millions of dollars. Like, that's what these teams are doing, is they're just blowing millions of dollars to know that this isn't how it works. It doesn't work. Wasn't that your lesson, Jason, like a couple years ago? It's like, whoever you're bringing in, probably not going to fix. Even the Falcons. It's like,
right, the mediocre free agent quarterback shift. I mean, which times has it worked? Definitely. I mean, twice with the Cardinals, Carson Palmer and
Warner.
So it happens
right
sometimes.
now. Looks like it's working.
Baker,
which is nice. But yeah, usually doesn't work.
Stafford Goff, but that's a trade.
Yeah, that's a trade.
Betz, you have one more here, and I feel like you have the best eyes on training camp, preseason usage, and then even injury time. So players that have missed time, what are some of our takeaways from week 1?
Yeah, I don't know how valuable this is to Dynasty. In fact, I don't think it's valuable at all. But
great,
it's a good,
great segue.
But it's a good just reminder about like week 1 gets here. We're all so excited. The guys you drafted to play, you're going to play. But like training camp matters, right? Like you have to do things in August that are football related to get ready to play football. All the guys that held out contract wise, like CeeDee Lamb was fine. But Jamar Chase, 6 for 62. Brandon Ayuk, 2 for 28. DeAndre Hopkins was injured, ran 9 routes last week. Mark Andrews missed a bunch of time. We talked about him. Puka aggravated the knee injury. Christian Kirk had 1 catch, dealt with a calf injury. We talked about the Falcons offense just not playing together in the preseason. Like all this stuff matters so much more than I think people realize. And then it kind of like lingers into the regular season for 2, 3, 4 weeks. Now we've got Christian McCaffrey dealing with the calf aggravation and the Achilles issue. So just for a friendly reminder.
I think what you're pointing out here is just how great CeeDee Lamb is.
Yeah. A couple of his catches were, I mean, we shouldn't be surprised anymore because he's just that good, but they were just lights out.
Yeah, a lot of feedback I got from people. I was posting stats of like, let's compare week 1 to years past. And a lot of people are saying like the preseason action. It's like a lot of these teams just didn't get to run plays with their players. Like, it's simple as that. So I don't know how much, like on some of these teams, they just started slow because they have some bozos at OC. Like that's one of my takeaways. And maybe that's too mean, but it's like there's some guys that have jobs in the NFL that I just don't know should be there. And they're not creative. And you kind of saw that with a lot of teams. So way too many field goals, by the way. I don't know if you guys saw 68 field goals in week 1. It's like by far way more than any other week.
Yeah, you had that on our main show doc, and we didn't get to it on the main show today, but it was so funny to look at the last like 7 years in a row, and it was like they were all about the same. And then last year it looked like a complete outlier. It was a big uptick. And then we crushed that this year. I mean, NFL wanted kicking to be back in the game. And apparently the dynamic kickoff has made everyone want to kick field goals.
Dude, Jake Moody would have been like a top 5 quarterback this week.
Oh, I know. No, really. Like, I think he was like the tight end 1, the wide receiver and running back 2, and the quarterback 5.
What a week for Jake Moody.
We lost Christian McCaffrey in the Scotty Fish Bowl. No problem. We had Jake Moody. We good.
Yeah, I lost a matchup because Moody just destroyed. I knew at one point, I was like, there's no chance that I'm going up against the kicker. So that's going to do it for this episode of the Dynasty Podcast. Make sure you check in everything on the Fantasy Footballer site, including, Jason, the ultimate dashboard has been something we've slowly talked about. We've slowly kind of integrated, and now it's something that people can actually put their rosters in. I'm actually looking at my Dynasty roster. By the way, boys, in our Dino Junior League, I got the win despite starting Jalen Tolbert and Jahan Dotson.
Nice.
Thanks to the ultimate dashboard.
I think that says more about who you played against than your team.
Whoa.
Just saying.
I think I scored more than Jason, which is shocking considering I don't have start. I did. I scored like 1 point more than you.
Which league is this?
Dino Junior.
Oh yeah, well that's destiny. We still won. We always win.
Yeah. Well, check that out. fanfootballers.com. You can be a part of the ultimate dashboard, and yeah, you can look at all of your teams doing that. That way, on to week 2, people. Make sure you check out our Fantasy Footballers Discord as well if you need any Dynasty start sit questions answered. And we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Fantasy Footballers Dynasty Podcast. If you want to take your Dynasty skills to the next level, check out thefantasyfootballers.com.